The format of this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee and snack break, and our main speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Derek.
Hi, Derek, alcoholic. I'm going to thank Rikki for asking me to be the opening act tonight. My sobriety date's August 4th, 2023, but that wasn't my first experience with alcohol, Alcoholics Anonymous. I come from a sober household. Both my parents are sober alcoholics. My mom has 35 years and my dad has 55. So I grew up in a house where there was no alcohol except for the 30 rack of Bud Light or Keystone that got carried down to the basement where my aunt's unit was and came up empty a week or two later. And so I was very curious because I was counting how frequently the alcohol went down and came back up. But very early on, when I was very little, I have two brothers closest to me in age, and occasionally it would be tough for my parents to get a sitter, and so one of us would have to accompany them to the meeting while the other two stayed home with my aunt. And when we went to the meeting, we would just sit in the back, play on our video games, dark room, church basement, and East Coast sobriety is very different than what I've seen out here on the West Coast. To me, it sounded like a bunch of old people complaining about the good old days. And in August of 2023, when it was July of 2023 that my wife of 10 months had told me that she was already tired of my drinking and wanted a divorce. We were only married for 10 months, and the divorce lasted longer than the marriage. Well, my mom came out. She noticed I wasn't drinking. She noticed I wasn't doing the other substances that I enjoyed. And she made a subtle suggestion to me of going to a meeting. So Friday night, we found the Barefoot meeting at the Burbank group, and that reminded me exactly what I thought of AA. On the East Coast, a bunch of old people complaining about the good old days. Fortunately, the next morning, we tried out another meeting. This was a Saturday eye-opener meeting in Montrose at 11 o'clock in the morning. And before we even got there, apparently it's a round-robin type meeting. I didn't even know if I was alcoholic. I didn't know anything about AA other than my, past judgment, but we get to the meeting, and first we have trouble finding it, of course, and then they ask my mom how much time she has, and she tells them, and she's like, oh, I know where this is going, because they asked her to lead. So she leads the meeting, and then it gets to the sharing portion, and they're going around, and obviously they set it up so that I'm the last one in the room. Fortunately, it's a very small meeting, though. There were only about 5 of us, myself, my mom, and then 3 old-timers, John, Kathy, and Steve. And I actually saw them this morning. This is actually my 3rd meeting today. But John starts sharing, and he mentions that he's a trial attorney, and he's got 40 years now. At the time he was coming up on 38. Now, as he's sharing, my mom's nudging me, and she's like, ask him to be your sponsor. I have no idea what a sponsor is. I have no idea what they do. And I still don't even know if I'm one of you. But at the end of the meeting, got his number. I decide that, I'm smart enough, I can beat this thing on my own. I want to get 30 days by myself before I ask him to be my sponsor. I get the 30 days, and I call him up, and fortunately he says yes. First thing he said to me was 90 meetings in 90 days. Now, I have to be honest, I didn't quite get to the 90 meetings, but I found the Thursday night 8 p.m. newcomers meeting at the Burbank group. And at that meeting, I met someone who is probably my closest friend in AA. His name is Sam. He was chairing the meeting. And, he did the worst thing you could do to an alcoholic coming in. He made me laugh. I was more miserable than I had ever been. I had come into AA with the plan that I was going to stay sober for a year, get through the divorce, and then just kill myself. Heard. Thank you. Now, Sam made me laugh. Started opening up at that meeting. It's participation style. He introduced me to another meeting. I started meeting another. I started finding my trudging buddies, and I had no idea what was going on. So about 90 days in, I start feeling better. And I have this change of heart. Like, I no longer wanted to kill myself. I wanted to live, and I have all of those people to thank for it. Today, I have 4 regular meetings a week. I have commitments at each one. Tuesday night, I handle the phones. Wednesday, I make coffee. And Wednesday night, I've had that commitment since I came in. And Thursday night, I chair that meeting, the Thursday night newcomer group at the Burbank group. Saturday, I make the copy for my Council of the Elders, as I call it. Now, I came into AA thinking that this was a death sentence for me because of what I saw. My parents, they didn't look like they had any fun, to my standards. To me, in my drinking days, fun was getting hammered with my friends, going out to karaoke, getting even more hammered before I got on stage and butchered a Backstreet Boys song. And then, falling down the stairs, going to the subway, getting on the train going the wrong way, paying for 2 Ubers because I didn't put the right address in. Today I can go to karaoke sober and butcher a Backstreet Boys song. And it's a lot more fun with the people that I met in these rooms. AA gave to me the exact thing that I thought I lost, and that's a family on the West Coast. Now, every time my parents come to visit me, I'm proud to take them to the meetings that I go to. I'm proud to introduce them to all the friends I've made out here. And I'm able to look back and appreciate what AA did for my family, did for my parents. Because growing up, I didn't know it, but at every graduation, every funeral, whether it was a celebration or mourning, it was the people in AA that showed up for my family, and the people in AA that showed up for me and my brothers as we reached those milestones, graduating high school, graduating college, and some of them actually came to my wedding. But now I have so much family. My life is huge today, thanks to AA. And actually, when I was first coming in, Rikki was one of the first speakers I heard at the Wednesday night Windsor Club meeting. And it was about this time last year that she came back and she spoke a second time. And I went up and talked to her after the meeting. And I said, I asked her, not too candidly, do you work downtown? And she said, yes. Then I said, in the U.S. Bank Tower? She took a step back and said, yes. And then I said, I do too. I've seen you there. So we ended up working in the same building. And since then, alcoholics have just popped up everywhere in my life. Even at Disneyland. This program is so wonderful, what it does for us. I can walk into any meeting of AA and feel at home. So if you're new, I hope you find what I found, and keep coming back. Thanks for letting me share.
All right, now our main speaker will share his or her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Rikki from LA.
Hi, my name's Rikki and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, thank you guys for having me here. Happy Saturday. What a great meeting, too. I was just telling Derek, I just think it's so nice, to be able to come early and fellowship with everybody and have food, and for our newcomers and the people coming in from treatment centers to get to see this is such a big deal. My sobriety date is April 21st of 2006. So a couple weeks ago, I turned 20 years sober, which is so exciting. I'm so excited, you guys. I couldn't wait. I was planning my 20th birthday party since I turned 10. Here's why. So when I turned 10, I decided that for my 15th birthday, I was going to have a quinceañera. And because I never had one. And so I was like, it's going to be great. And I was talking about it for years. I was like, everybody is going to wear gowns. My friend Jorge was choreographing it. And we were all just super excited. And my sponsees were like, can we wear gowns too? I said, yes, everybody can wear a gown. And everybody was amped up about this quinceañera. Well, guess what happened? Precisely. I turned 15 during COVID. And so my 15th birthday, there is a photo of me in my living room wearing a tiara, staring at the Zoom screen like this. So by 16, there was I had a little dinner, but I was like, nah, we're going to let this ride till 20. And so I started planning my 20th birthday party when I turned 10. And I was so excited. And a couple weeks before I turned 20, so I've grown up. God put me with the right women and men in sobriety. I don't even know. One of the women that raised me, her name's Laura, it's like we were separated at birth. And she has almost 40 years, right? And she got me when I was a brand newcomer. So a couple weeks before my birthday, she sends me a text. I was in the middle of work with all of these tiaras. And she said, which one of these do you want for your 20th birthday? And I stopped what I'm doing and I looked through the photos. I go, girl, these are beautiful, but for my 20th birthday, I need one that's bigger, badder, more sparkly than anything I've ever worn before. Think Glenda the Good Witch. And so she, on April 21st of 2006, Derek and Laura came over to my house and we had what I called my coronation, where I got this giant tiara. So it's just been a really special time and celebrating. And I don't know that I'll forget to tell you this, but I want to tell you now, my heart has been, there's something about 20 that has really moved my heart. And I've grown up in Alcoholics Anonymous, as you can tell. There's something about 20. I reflected as I approached April. And one thing that I know, which anybody who's new here, I never thought this was ever going to be possible. As I was getting close to this milestone, I thought, I really don't want to be anybody but me. And that was not my experience on April 21st of 2006. I didn't want to live in my skin one more second. Thank you, Derek, for opening us up and speaking. That was so wonderful. And about a year ago, in June of 2025, I was in Philadelphia fluffing the veil of another one of my sponsees. She was the second sponsee that had gotten married that year. And it was just so beautiful and exciting. And I sat down with Laura, the one that gave me the crown, the night before the wedding, and I said, girl, this is so amazing. And it had been such a beautiful experience. And I started to cry, and she goes, girl, what's wrong? And I just tear lightly. And I said, I just keep praying, but where's my person? And then 3 days later, I spoke at the Windsor Club, which is the story that you just heard, which is so sweet. So we're very happy to be here tonight, and I'm so grateful to be sober. So I come from a long line of alcoholics, you guys. I have my grandfather's big book that was passed down to my dad, that was passed down to me. I know, right? It's our family heirloom. And It's what we pass down in the Maynard family. You're going to need it. And I'm the current keeper of the family heirloom, and I'm from the south of the United States, not California. So I was born in Tennessee, and then I lived in Alabama and Arkansas before I made my way to California. And so I've grown up in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous in Los Angeles. Just so I can save you the math, it's Saturday, we don't do math. I got sober at 23 years old, and I've literally grown up in the folding chairs of AA. And so people that know me that I've grown up with, they always ask me when they find out I'm from the South, they're like, oh, were you a debutante? And I love that question, right? Because my accent's been gone for a long time mostly, unless you sit me next to somebody from the South and it comes right back. And they say, were you a debutante? And I laugh when they ask that, because there is no greater advertisement for Alcoholics Anonymous than somebody asking me if I once were part of a high society organization that teaches grace and manners. Like, honey, no. Like, that little train wreck that sauntered in here in a dirty miniskirt 20 years ago, none of you guys were thinking, were you part of a high society organization that teaches grace and manners? The long-timers were like, honey, are you alive? Do you need a hamburger? Here are some clothes that fit. Like, that was the girl that walked into your meeting 20 years ago. And so when people ask me if that's the truth, I mean, that is just an advertisement for AA. That came from the men and women of Alcoholics Anonymous, who taught me how to speak, how to use the right fork, how to put clothes on, how to shower, weird, and all that kind of stuff. And I laugh, and then I also laugh because it couldn't be further from the truth. And I like to answer with the truth, which is, no, honey, I was a hillbilly, we were poor. And I'm from a hillbilly Southern family, and so my first memories are in this one-bedroom apartment in Little Rock, Arkansas. And my dad had moved out to this place called California, and I didn't know what it was, but we're living with my mom in this one-bedroom apartment, and my first memories are 4, 5, and 6 years old. I used to climb up on this ladder in the kitchen, and I would pull these bottles out of the freezer, and I would pour them down the drain. And I didn't know what they were as a little girl. I just knew that when they came out and my mom drank them, it made bad stuff happen. And I was a smart kid. So I just thought, let me remove the problem. If I can just get rid of this stuff in the freezer, maybe we'll sleep safer tonight. And it never worked, and I didn't understand. I didn't even know till I got to Alcoholics Anonymous that I wasn't removing the problem. I was removing a solution to the problem. And so I tried, and I used to hide in this closet because my mom would pass out with cigarettes every night, and I would wait so she didn't burn down our one-bedroom apartment because it was all we had. And she had boyfriends that would beat her up and all sorts of scary stuff that was going on in that house. And I remember my sister, and I have an older sister, and we used to crowd around this phone and just try. We didn't know how to use it, and we would try to call my dad out in California so he could come help our mom. And the thing I have to tell you about my mom that's more important than all of that is that my mom was the most wonderful woman in the entire world. The way I describe my mom's alcoholism is the way I describe mine. It's not that I don't love you, and it's not that I don't care, and it's not that I want to hurt you. It's that this thing is a power greater than me. And when I'm in active alcoholism, it literally controls my body. Stone cold sober with nothing in my system, if I'm in active alcoholism, it's like I levitate out of my bed and I'm gone in the middle of the night. I'm gone again, I'm gone again, I'm gone again, even when I don't want to. When I've prayed to God. The only way that I can collect days without drinking, without Alcoholics Anonymous, you guys, is this thing that we call white knuckling. And when I got here and they said that, they didn't need to explain it because it was literally the only way I could get through a night sober. And what that looks like for me when I'm drinking is I have to lay in a bed in whatever house I'm allowed to sleep in and hold on to the comforter so that I don't leave again. And I got sober before like recorded television, so I would put on Law and Order like on TNT, and it was like don't, like don't, 1 more hour sober. Like that was all I could do, and I would hold onto the bed until my knuckles turned white. That's the best I've got on my own power. And it's not that I don't love you, and it's not that I don't care, and it's not that I want to hurt you. It's that this thing is a power greater than me, and if I could choose you, I would. See, I'm the product of really good sponsorship and really good therapy. It's the reason I'm standing in front of you today. And one thing neither group has ever had to teach me, thank God, is that my mom wanted me more than anything in the world. See, I went on to want education and bank accounts and all sorts of things, because of what I saw as a little girl and the kind of family that I was from. I wanted a different life. And my mom, I don't remember her wanting any of that. She was a really simple Southern woman. Like, all my mom wanted was to be my mom. I'm everything she ever wanted in this world. And I used to ask how I made it to California because I don't remember. I always imagined it was like the Beverly Hillbillies. Do you guys remember that show? If you don't, it was great. Go home and Google it. So I figured we just packed up the truck and moved to Los Angeles. And what they told me when I was a kid is that I came here to go to Disneyland and I just never left, which checks out. And so I was out here going to Disneyland, and my dad just told me this story a couple years ago because I asked him, I'm like, what really happened? Like, why did I stay in California? And he said, well, honey, it was you that told me what was going on in the South. I said, I did? And he said, yeah, you were out here going to Disneyland and you were about 5, 6 years old. And let me give you the right picture of my dad. My dad looks just like Rod Stewart. And do you guys know who that is? Okay. If you don't, your parents robbed you. And I'll help you after the meeting. I have a phone. We can play some songs. And so my dad looks just like Rod Stewart. And so my dad, he's in the fashion business at this point, but he really wanted to be a rock star, and he looks like one. Like tonight, he has that haircut. And so I come out here to visit my rock star looking dad as a little girl, and I pulled him aside in the hallway, and I said, Dad, would it be okay if we stayed here with you? And he said, baby, what's going on? And my dad had zero plans of raising 2 little girls. And I said, can we stay here? He said, what's going on? I said, we don't always eat and we don't always go to school, and it's really scary there. Can we please stay here? And the next thing that happened is he called my mom in Arkansas, and he said, Angie, I think it would be a good idea if the girls stayed here with me. And my mom said, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. And I'm everything she ever wanted in this world. And my mom, and I just learned this story at 18 years sober. My mom loved me enough to let me go, and it's the only reason after that day I slept in a clean bed every night, and I had clean clothes, and I got to go to school. And that I'm standing in front of you today. Probably I don't know that I would be alive if I had been left in the South. There was a lot of scary stuff going on. And my mom would come out and visit her 2 little blonde baby girls, and I watched her get sicker and sicker, and when I was 11 years old, she died of cirrhosis of the liver. And she was in the hospital, and the doctors told her if she didn't stop drinking, she was going to die, and she couldn't stop drinking. It is an alcoholic woman, I understand. Because it's not that I don't love you, and it's not that I don't care, and it's not that I want to go, and if I could choose you, I would. If I could choose you, I would. If I could choose me, I would. If I could sleep in clean clothes, I would. If I could go back and finish school, I would. If I could not demoralize myself every night, I would. If I could show up for your birthday, I would. If I could come home for Christmas, I would. And if I could choose you, I would. And there were so many nights when I was out sleeping in dirty clothes in different parts of California, on people's couches, just wishing I could go home and go back to the person that I used to be and go back to a safe place. And if I could have, I would have. And so the reason I tell you about my mom, it's such a big part of who I am. But when I was 11, I had more words for what I was watching. And the words that I came up with were that alcohol killed my mom. And I wanted nothing to do with it. I hated alcohol. And I built a life against alcohol. I didn't want to hang out with you if you drank. I didn't go to parties. And I started to work really hard in school because being from a poor Southern family, the words that I put together is if I can get an education and a bank account, nobody can hit me and I'm not going to die. If I have my own stuff, I can always leave, and I can always do what I need to do in this world. And so I set out to live this great big life, and then I wanted to live this big life that my mom never got to live. At this age that I'm at now, I've already outlived my mom, and she never got to live this life. And so my dad, we packed up the car when I was 18 years old, and Rod Stewart drove me up the coast of California to San Francisco. And we unpacked this car at school. And my dad's parting words to me, he leaned in really close when I was going away to college, and he said, "Just run and don't look back." Like those were how he said goodbye to me. And it's funny because I grew up on television, and I always thought that moment was going to be like sweet and like all that kind of stuff. And I was like, why are you so weird? Why can't we be a normal family? And what I think that he meant is like, go be all that you can be. Just run and don't look back. And also, my mom is by far not the only person that has died of alcoholism in our family. It comes from both sides, both grandparents, both parents, aunts, uncles. Everybody's a drunk in the Maynard family. And let me tell you this, in case you're new here tonight and you don't have a family that looks like that, one of my best friends that I got sober with, she's sober 21 years now, she says the only thing wrong with her family is that she was in it. And it's absolutely true. My family, I just happen to, like, my family is lovely like hers. They just like to get drunk, all of them. And my grandmother, my mom's mom, actually buried most of her children from the disease of alcoholism before she died. It's just how we get down. And so my dad's looking at this girl who's a straight A student when he's dropping me off at college, and he's like, we're not real sure how this happened, but just run. Like, and don't look back and go be all that you can be. And I got to school and I started doing really well. I started tutoring people, getting it on, the head of all these organizations, straight A student. Everybody knew I was going to law school after college. I just worked really, really hard. And I remember feeling, though, and maybe it's the Southern in me, I made everything look really good on the outside. But I remember just being inside, feeling like I was just treading water, trying not to drown every single day. I don't know when I got it, but I believe that I have alcoholism, and alcoholism demands treatment. I can either treat it with alcohol in any form at all, or I can treat it with a 12-step solution, which is how I treat it today. And in college, I hadn't found either yet. And so I'm living in this life, and I remember, how a duck looks super peaceful gliding across the water, but underneath their feet are just like flapping? That was me every single day of my life. I was so tired. 18, 19, 20, I was so tired. Just trying to, because I was the one in the family that made it out. I'm the baby of the kids. I'm the first person in our whole family to go away to college. Everybody would talk about this kid in the family that goes to college. It's going to be all these great big things. And I remember being so glad that I could make my family proud, but it was a lot of weight to carry. And I had so much sadness inside, and and I'm just going through life. And I was 20 years old, and I was home in Los Angeles for Christmas break, and I was out with some friends from high school. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to drink tonight. And that story, when I was new, sounded crazy to me. Right? Knowing what I know about my family, why would I ever say that? But see, I didn't understand alcoholism as described in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. All I knew was what I saw in my family. And what I saw in my family, I thought was weakness. And I thought it was a question of willpower. And if it's a question of willpower, I've got it covered, because don't you know who I am? I'm this girl, I go to this school, I get these grades, I'm doing all these things in the world. And at 20 years old, in my mind, up until that point, everything that had tried to break me in life had failed. So why was a liquid in a bottle going to be any different? It just didn't make any sense to me. Why a beverage would be the thing that finally knocked me, out. Obviously, I was wrong, or you'd have a different blonde speaker with 20 years tonight. No, I was very wrong. I didn't know. And so I had this half a drink at 20 years old. I got back up to San Francisco, and I was drunk every night almost immediately. I'm not somebody who has any desire to be a high-functioning alcoholic whatsoever. I know there are some of you, you all look nice. I'm sure there are some of you in this room that functioned highly and drank. I know, my dad was an alcoholic. He went to work. He went on business trips. Sometimes did no business on the business trip, but came back. It's hard to get me to leave the bathroom. I'm just not real sure. I have zero desire to function whatsoever. My drinking looked just like an after-school special. Do you guys remember those? Okay. What's with this side? What are you guys doing? Are you all sleeping? Do we need to do jumping jacks? Let's do it. Did you guys watch after-school specials? If you were too drunk to turn on the television, here's what they were. They're most like Lifetime movies today. They were very dramatic. And they were to instruct you on like what not to do. There'd be like a girl that had a problem with this or like blah, blah, blah. Mine looked like the one on drinking. It was like, oh, sweet little sorority girl, straight A student tries alcohol. Cut to 6 months later, she's a crack whore. Dun, dun, dun. Like, that was the cadence with which I drank. Like, just to give you the right picture. I don't mess around with anything. If I like something, let's go. And so I got back up to school, and it was wild. You know, what do we have time to talk about? I didn't know, too. So I was out a couple years ago with one of my friends from college, and we were having an immense conversation. And she said something really nice. She said, it must have been really hard for you to start drinking in college. And I said, well, that's really nice, but what do you mean? And she said, because we were all drinking large amounts of alcohol. And you had alcoholism and we didn't. And that's the thing. That's the nature of alcoholism. That's one of the things that's described in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is this something different happens to me that when I drink than happens to other people. I'm bodily and mentally different from my fellows. And when I say drink, newcomers, I just mean whatever rainbow you wrote in here on. I don't really care. Like whatever it is, right? You can line me up on a bar stool next to 6 other people and we can drink the same amount of alcohol shot for shot. I may have alcoholism, they may not. It doesn't matter the amount that I drink. Something different's happening to me. Something different's occurring in my body. I also have this thing called a spiritual malady, which is a fancy way of saying a spiritual sickness, which is why when I found alcohol, it felt like it answered a question that had been burning inside of me my entire life. The cells in my body relaxed in a different way for the first time, and I remember looking down at my hand and feeling like I grew into the skin that surrounded my body for the first time ever. It does something for me that it doesn't do for other people. I'm bodily and mentally different from my fellows. When I really start to realize that I'm bodily and mentally different from my fellows is when I'm stone cold sober with nothing in my system, because every single time I drink again. I have this thing called the obsession of the mind, and that's when I start to realize it's different. I remember back when I still had friends, it wasn't long, you'll hear why. I was in college, and like it was a very short time that I was like still going out with other people and like leaving the bathroom. It was not long. And so I'm going out with these girls from the sorority, and it's in San Francisco. It's cold. We shimmy down the hill in like our mini skirts, and I got sober before Uber, so I had to walk 20 miles in the snow to get drunk, children, whoever. Like, no, it was harder to get drunk. We didn't have alcohol delivery. We didn't go get it, and I wasn't even 21 yet. And so we go down, and it was before Uber, before delivery, all this stuff. We go down to the corner. You made a call to a taxi company, and then you waited on a corner and prayed to God somebody was going to come get you so that you could go get drunk. And so I'm with these girls. We're on the corner. The wind's blowing. Nobody's coming. Like, taxi's not coming. They're like, oh, it's the college kids again. And so so we're waiting there, and these girls get tired, and they look at me, and do you know what they said? Thank you. They said, oh, well, I guess we'll go home. You can go home if you want to, Susan, but I'm going to get drunk because I can taste it in my mouth before I get loaded. Stone cold sober with nothing in my system. I'm drunk already. Like, the train has already left the station. And I remember, like, thinking, like, I'll walk 30 miles in this miniskirt, like, and I'll see you guys later. And that's exactly what happened. I was like, all right, I'll catch you guys later. And I'm gone. And then I start showing up because I'm drinking every night of the week. And I'm living in this apartment with a bunch of sorority girls. And I'm coming home on a Tuesday, and I'm falling into the furniture. And they're just trying to study and get a college degree. And so I come home one day, and they formed a circle in the living room. If you ever decided to drink again, which I hope nobody does, and you come home and there's a circle, sit down, they have things to tell you. And so they had formed this little circle, and the circle wasn't an intervention. It was actually you need to pack and leave right now. And I was like, right, rude. And I think I said something like, I don't need you anyway, you fake friends. And like, I packed my stuff and I left. I was like, that's rich. You guys have been drinking this whole time. Like, I just started. But people see something different in the way that I drink because I have alcoholism. And like, I remember people being like, I don't know that you should drink. And I was like, I just saw you throw up last weekend. Like, but I don't understand that there is a different twinkle in my eye. There's something different about me. I have alcoholism. And so I pack my stuff and I leave my fake friends. Just kidding. They were really nice girls. They did the right thing. And I go pack my stuff and I move into the bathroom of this university apartment. There was a bedroom attached, which is irrelevant. And so I go move into the bathroom my second semester senior year. And I love this bathroom. I like to live in there. I only go out to get supplies sometimes. And I liked it because you can lock the door. And then I set up candles in there, which was my mood lighting, which is great because then it doesn't matter if it's day or night or if it's been 5 days. Who cares? And then I moved a boombox in there. And do you guys know what a boombox is? Thank God. And I obviously speak to the young people of Alcoholics Anonymous now, and they keep getting younger. And so I have to explain what a boombox is now. And I'm like, ask your parents. And then also, those silver things with the circle in the middle, that's called a CD. And that's how we played music back then. And so I moved a boombox in there because I had years of feelings that I felt like I needed to unpack and express through song. And so it was me, this was my senior year of college, it was me with a wine bottle singing into the mirror the best slow jams of the late 90s and early 2000s. And so it was like a lot of Boys to Men. And just singing into the mirror. And I'm really sad to tell you that this is actually when alcohol was working for me. This is when it looked good. It only got worse from here. And so sometimes I would leave this bathroom to get supplies and I would run into people. Sometimes I would emerge, right? Because there was a liquor store at the bottom of this big staircase. And I would run into people and they would see me. And I remember people would grab my arm and they'd be like, hey, are you okay? And I was drunk. And so I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, you used to tutor me and you used to shower. Are you all right? Because I look like a monster compared to the girl that used to tutor you 6 months ago. And I remember thinking I would say thank you so much for your concern. And what I thought in my brain was, I'll stop when I want to, and that day's not today. Because on one level, I thought I had that power. And I didn't know why you guys were so freaked out. Because I thought, you know what? I'm just taking a break. Because see, this is the thing. Okay, you guys, I've been saying this lately. When I was new, somebody told me this. It rocked my little world. They said, you can't outsmart your alcoholism because it thinks with your brain. That was me as a newcomer. I was like, what? What else do you know, oh wise one? Tell me all of your secrets. When they told me that, though, blows my mind. And so me is drinking, that's what was happening. It's going to tell me whatever Rikki needs to hear to stay drunk. Which is, oh, they're just all tripped out. You're so powerful and smart. When you're done, you'll stop. It's just not right now. You're taking a break. You deserve it. You've worked so hard. Your mom died. Take a minute. Take a deep breath. And I didn't know that I don't have that power until I try to stop. And I can't stop on my own. And once I stop, I can't stay stopped. And so one day I left to go down this big staircase to the liquor store. And if I had known that it was the day I was supposed to be graduating college, I would have never left. I would have hidden that bathroom because I was ashamed. I was 21 units shy of a college degree, and I had lied to my family all the way up until it was time to book the flights, and I had to tell my dad I wasn't graduating. And yet, I said, I'm not graduating yet. And I went down the staircase to get more liquor, and all these kids I had gone to school with and tutored for years were coming up the stairs in their caps and gowns with their families. And I remember that day. See, while my alcoholism will tell me I'll stop when I want to and that day's not today, what our book says is that we often suspect that we're down for the count. I knew in my gut that this thing had me long before I would admit it to myself and long before I would admit it to you. And we talk in this program about moments of clarity. And I remember being on that staircase, I can still feel it like it was yesterday, and I watched them go in slow motion, and I didn't think that day, I'll have that next year. And it's just not, whatever it is, I'll stop, and I'll have that next year. I remember I thought, there goes my life, and there goes everything I was supposed to have. And my whole spirit cracked and broke that day. Because I had built an entire life on being the one that made it out. And that had beat my circumstances. The whole family was proud of me. This was my entire identity. And I'm standing on this staircase, and my next thought was, I guess I am my mother's daughter. This is what I'm going to do. And what do I do with feelings like that when my friends kick me out, when people won't talk to me, when my hopes and dreams are crashing down around me, when people say, we love you, but you can't stay here anymore. All of this stuff that's happening. I got chills when I said that. All of this is happening around me. What do? I try to pour more on to make it go away. If I can just get more drunk tonight, maybe I can sleep tonight and not feel all of this stuff that I'm feeling. And I move home to Los Angeles, and I tell my dad, don't worry about it. I'll go back to school and I'll finish school again. And if you haven't figured it out yet, just by the way I smile when I talk about him, my dad is my hero. He is tonight. He always has been, and he always will be. That man, like I said, he had zero plans. I don't even think my dad wanted kids, but he obviously got lucky. But he knows it now. But I don't think he even wanted kids. My dad legitimately wanted to be one of the Rolling Stones. And when we moved out here to live with him, that man worked his fingers to the bone every single night so that my sister and I wanted for nothing. He wanted us to have a different life than we had had before. He wanted us to be safe and protected. He wanted us to get to be children and little girls. And so he worked his fingers to the bone. We went to cheerleading and camp and all that stuff. He took us and our friends to Disneyland. All the opportunities little girls could have and a young lady growing up could have, my dad gave me. He didn't know how to raise two little girls on his own. He would take us to the makeup counter, take me to the makeup counter and be like, please help her, I'll pay. Like he didn't know what to do. This is my father. You couldn't pay me all the money in the world to hurt that man. I'll give my life for my dad any day. Unfortunately, when I'm in active alcoholism, it's the only thing I can do. And what it looks like in our family, when I'm in active alcoholism, is this prized child that was going to be a lawyer, that was going to be all these great big things that he used to show my picture around town, this prized child that he's so proud of. I'm gone for weeks and months at a time, sleeping in different parts of California, and he can't find me. And I leave that sweet man up calling jails and hospitals every single night to figure out if I'm dead or alive, because I am gone without a trace. Sometimes I leave my ID, sometimes I leave my phone, I'm gone. And I shift from place to place. They gave me a car to drive when I turned 16, and I would leave it abandoned in different parts of California so that the police would find my car and they'd call my dad. And they'd say, we found your kid's car, but we haven't found your kid. And then I show back up when I run out of places to sleep because you don't want me in your house. And I slither into the back door of their house in Burbank, California, and I beg to sleep there one more time. And my dad starts crying and he says, honey, I'm so glad that you're okay. And I say, I know, Daddy, I promise I'll never do it again. Because I mean it. Because if I had that power, I wouldn't. And if I could choose you, I would. But sometimes it's that night, sometimes it's a couple nights, whatever it is, every single time I'm gone again and I'm gone again and I'm gone again and I'm breaking this man's heart. That's what it looks like in our family. Back when I was at 22, I was sleeping in somebody's couch in Palm Springs, and I had one of those pay-as-you-go cell phones. I was at a podium a couple months ago, and I said, do they still have those? And then I realized they do. They call them burner phones. And I know that from my Law and Order, dun dun. And so I had a burner, and my dad left a message on my burner. I think he went to an Al-Anon meeting somewhere around March of 2005 because the message on my burner phone was different than the messages I had had before. It says, we've arranged a bed for you at a treatment center if you want to get sober, click. It didn't say come home for Thanksgiving, let us know if you're not dead, nothing. It said if you don't want to die, we've set something up for you. And so I heard this message. I think I needed to come back to Los Angeles. And so I come back to LA at all of my little out of my mind, full flight from reality glory. And I come back and I said, so what's this place you want me to go to? And my dad is really, and my dad tells me, and I go, can I go look at it first? And my dad looks at me and he rolls his eyes. What a lunatic. I can't even afford a hamburger and I have a burner phone, but I need to go tour this facility to see if it's suitable for me. Full flight from a freaking lunatic. I have nowhere to stay. And he rolls his eyes at me and he goes, let's go. And I go look at this place. I tore it, like with a glove, right? And I was like, okay, I'll go here. And my dad's like, all right. And so I go there and I don't understand what's going on. I go home to pack. It looks like school. And so I think I'm going back to school, and I go home to pack for school. And I go to rehab. I have my pink bedspread with my pink matching rug and my pink suitcase, and I go to rehab. And I get into my dorm room. And what you do is, when you get to school is that you decorate your dorm room. It's the first thing you do. And so I get into my dorm room and I start decorating. And so I pin my sorority letters on the wall. They gave me a cork board. I love a cork board. I think I'm back at school. I'm in full flight from reality. And I put my bedspread and I put my rug and I decorate. And then people start coming by, right? And this girl comes by, and I love it. I was an orientation leader in college. I can't wait to make friends. I'm so excited. And so this girl comes by, and she starts laughing, and I was like, right, it's fun here. And she's just laughing. She calls other girls over, and I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to be so popular. I'm going to make so many friends. And I was like, yay. And they all start coming. I didn't know that they were laughing at me. And they were calling each other over so more people could laugh at me because they had all just paroled from prison. And so they were bringing each other over because they were like, what are you? And they're in my little outfit. And they gave me a nickname behind my back at first. They called me Rehab Barbie. But then I found out, and don't worry, because I actually wore them all down. They all became my friends. It's actually how I make friends today. If you don't like me, I will wear you down. I will wear you down. Your drama is not my drama. Let's have a discussion. And the more sober way that I say that is that I don't need your permission to love you. No matter what. I don't need your permission to love you. I get to love you no matter what you're doing, all the time. So, but I started that with wearing people down before I even got sober. And they all became my friends. We played spades and charades. I don't remember much, but I was pretty sure that I was going to be valedictorian of Alcoholics Anonymous really soon. And I would bring notebooks to your meetings and take notes. I don't remember anything, but I knew I was going to get an A in AA, and I was taking really good notes of I don't even know what was in that thing. And I got sober at 58 days. What happened from March of 2005 to April of 2006 is that it got really, really bad. If you haven't figured out yet, by the way I talk about the big book, I'm a big book enthusiast. That's how I identify, because I feel like big book thumper sounds aggressive. And so I'm a big book enthusiast, and I'm from a family in Alcoholics Anonymous where we tear through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line and word by word and page by page. We look stuff up with dictionaries and highlighters and all that stuff. One thing that I've always looked up with people and for myself, but I've never had to, is pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. And this was especially the last year of my drinking, and the best way I can describe it in a general way is, how do you think a pretty little girl stays in that lifestyle week after week and month after month with places to stay and things to eat? And whatever your exact experience was of pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization, we all have our own. And this was my experience. And on April 21st of 2006, somewhere a day or two before that, my dad let me stay in their house one more time. They started locking the doors, and I was pretty sure it was one of the last times they were going to let me come in, but they let me come in one more time. And I'm sleeping in this room, and my dad comes in, and he said, what are you going to do, because you can't do this, meaning you can't stay here? And I said, I guess I'll go back to that place. And on April 21st of 2006, he drove me back to that place. All the Barbie stuff was long gone. I didn't have anything else. I had trash bags of stuff, and what my dad will tell you about April 21st of 2006 is that I was a couple weeks away from physically dying, because I'm not a high-functioning alcoholic. I'm a really low-functioning alcoholic. I don't eat. I don't really leave. I'm just getting loaded day after day after day after day, and my body's breaking down. And I'm 23 years old, about to turn 24. And if you're counting, that's just a couple years after my first drink. I'm like the person they talk about in the book where it says went to pieces and was dead within a couple years, within 4 years, I think they say in the book. That's me. And what I can tell you about April 21st of 2006 is that I had been dead inside for a really long time. And you wouldn't have scared me if you said you're going to die soon. I would have been like, good. Because my experience of being on this earth was that every time I tried to stop drinking, I couldn't. And every time I tried to stay stopped, I couldn't stay stopped. And all I was doing in this world was living in pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization and making my dad cry and terrorizing my family. So I really thought it would be better if I wasn't here anymore. That's what I brought you on April 21st of 2006. And I will never forget the look that was in my dad's eyes that night. It wasn't a look of hope. He wasn't bringing me here thinking, oh, my kid's going to get sober and be standing in front of a nice group of people on a Saturday night with 20 years sober. Like neither of us ever thought that would happen. The look in his eyes is a look that I recognize because I've been sober a long time, and I have a lot of friends that have children that are out there, whatever it is. My dad, the look in his eyes is that he had become really acquainted with the fact that his little girl was probably going to die really soon. And he left me with you guys one last time. That was it. That's how I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't come in here cartwheeling thinking I'd get sober. I came in here because I didn't have anywhere else to go, and I got to come here one last time before my body finished breaking down. All of the hope that pumps through my veins tonight came from you. It came from you. See, this is why Alcoholics Anonymous works. They said to me when I was in my early days, the most important thing I'm going to say tonight and the most important thing I am ever going to say, ever. If you're new here with us tonight, if you've heard nothing else, please hear this. And equally as important, if you're not new here with us tonight and you feel messed up inside, because that's the thing. I felt ways inside over my sobriety. Like, you guys, I know the book like the back of my hand. I got to promise you this. There is nowhere in that book that it says, and now you're done. Like, I looked a few times in case I missed it. They told me if you're not growing, you're going. And my growing hasn't always been beautiful. Like, later it was, but like it was painful in the middle of it. So sometimes I need this, whether you're new or you're not new. I don't care if you have 2 days, 20 days, 22 years, whatever it is. Please hear this. We have a way out if you want it. A way out of the way that I feel inside, the way out of my alcoholism, a way out of being 20 years sober, rocking back and forth in a dark corner if it's related to alcoholism, whatever it is. We have a way out if you want it. And it's outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And there are several of us that know the way out, that will show you the way out. And see, this is why I believe Alcoholics Anonymous works. If you're in a ditch, I don't care if you have 2 days, 20 years, whatever. If you're in a ditch, I'm not just going to walk by and be like, yo, we have a way out if you want it, and like keep walking, right? I'm going to come get down in the ditch with you, and I'm going to walk out with you because I've walked out before. Whether you have 2 days, 22 months, or 29 years, whatever it is, we're going to walk out together. See, I've had my sponsor for the last 18 years. She got me when I was 2.5 years sober, and she's the one that taught me how to tear through that big book. She's the woman that saved my life with that book, with the rubber band holding it together. I'll run out of time, but she told me a lot of things. She told me I need to know the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is she said you need to know what is Alcoholics Anonymous and what is not. See, one of the things that I know for sure is that nowhere in that book does it tell me that I'm better than you because I have more time than you. Nowhere in that book does it tell me that I'm better than you because I'm your sponsor. Or that there's some sort of hierarchy and like I'm somewhere like in the mid-range. Like, it doesn't say anything like that. Nothing. What it does say is that we have no attitude of holier than thou. Nothing whatever except the sincere desire to be helpful. There are no axes to grind, no fees to pay, no people to please, and most importantly for this little girl that grew up in the folding chairs of Alcoholics Anonymous, no lectures to be endured. No lectures to be endured. I had like a long call with one of my sponsees today, and like we just laugh and talk and apply and talk about and reference back to the book. And as we grow through life, my sponsor, she raised me. She's had me since I was a little girl. She told me a couple things. So I got her when I was 2.5 years sober. And I had worked the steps with my first sponsor to the best of my ability. I read my fifth step at 6 months sober. I don't even know what that thing said, man. But what I do know is that by 2.5 years sober, and this is a longer story, we don't have time. By 2.5 years sober, I was dying of alcoholism in the front row of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was your secretary, I was your chip person, and somehow I was some people's sponsor. I'm one of those people that needed a way out if I wanted it, no matter what. Sober. That's the thing, is I can feel like I want to either drink or die sitting in the front row of Alcoholics Anonymous if I'm not doing the work around here. That's just been my experience. It is what it is. I have alcoholism, and alcoholism not requests politely. It demands treatment. If I'm not treating it with a 12-step solution, I may eventually treat it with alcohol. And otherwise, I'm going to live miserable in between. And at 2.5 years sober, I was living miserable in between, probably about to treat it with alcohol. Because I wasn't doing the work around here. I know my first sponsor told me to continue to take personal inventory. What I heard is take other people's inventory. And I had a lot. You guys were doing it all wrong. And I was restless, irritable, and discontent, sitting in the home group thinking, if this guy shares one more time, I'm going to knife him in the parking lot after the meeting. I swear to God. I was like, don't do it, Bob. I see you twitching. Like, don't even raise your hand, Bob. Same share as last week. Like, this was me. This is what I'm doing. Instead of looking for newcomers to help, I'm like, no. And so my sponsor got a hold of me when I was 2.5 years sober, and I asked her, I said, how do I get a conscious contact with a higher power? Because people talk about it every day, and I don't know what it is. I say these things that feel like nursery rhymes. You guys call them prayers to something I think hates me. And I said, I don't know how to get, but I want what you have. And how do I get comfortable in my own skin? Because I've never felt that way. And how do I stop screaming inside and screaming in the bathroom of my apartment? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to either die or drink pretty soon. And she said, you know how you get all that stuff, baby? I said, how? She said, line by line and word by word and page by page, baby. I'm going to take you through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is right, we're going to write. This is pray, we're going to pray. She said, you better get a God, baby, because I'm going to fail you, and it needs to be bigger than the one that you have now. But my entire job as your sponsor is to introduce you to to a power greater than you that will solve all your problems, and that's the main purpose of this book. And she told me to pay attention. She said, pay attention, little girl. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, don't waste my time. I'm teaching the teacher, I'm training the sponsor. If there's something in this book that you don't understand, I need to know. Because you're going to spend the rest of your life teaching this book to other women, and it's going to save your life for the rest of your life. That woman and her big book changed everything inside of me. I have been inwardly reorganized. Everything inside of me is different than that night that I sat across from her at the coffee shop, line by line, word by word, page by page. I know I need to close. Today I sponsor women that sponsor women that sponsor women that sponsor women, and this beautiful community of women has grown up around me. And the best days of my life are when I get to fluff the trains at their weddings and stand up at their graduations. And as we approach 20 years sober and standing here tonight, I don't want to be anybody but me. On April 25th of 2026, my dad stood in a room of over 100 people that flew and drove in from all over the country to give his daughter a party for 20 years sober. And I called many of these people after, and I said, I will spend the rest of my life trying to pay you back for what you gave my father last night. You guys gave my dad a daughter, and I'm his first call, and he is so proud of the woman that you built, and everything I value about myself was literally built on the folding chairs of Alcoholics Anonymous, night by night and brick by brick. Thank you so much for making me the woman I'm so proud to be. Thank you.